Hello, first a quick introduction. My name is David Morrisette, and I will be doing the first presentation. A little bit about me. I live in Phillipsburg, and Phillipsburg is the place my family chose to make our home when we moved here from Georgia in 1995. I care passionately about seeing Phillipsburg move forward to become a riverfront destination. This has been the goal of many past administrations of Phillipsburg. This presentation will touch on some topics regarding the plans by Perrone Corporation and some on the Town Council to build a warehouse in downtown Phillipsburg. In this presentation, I will discuss what exists today, what is being proposed in terms of a warehouse in downtown Phillipsburg. I will review actions along a timeline that got us to the point of where we are and how things changed along the way. I will also take a look at some odd behavior in the process of getting to where we are. Some additional costs will be looked at and challenges the town will have to confront if a warehouse really does come to fruition. Woven into this presentation, you will see information regarding some things that will seem odd and may be the grounds for challenging some of the steps in the process of where we got today. Some of the odd things you may hear about may be part of the basis of a lawsuit that exists. For more detailed information on everything that is discussed in this presentation, please visit the website phillipsburg.nowarehouse.org. To give you an orientation regarding the area we are looking at, here is an overhead view from Google Maps. This shows the area and what it looks like today from overhead. The green forested area is property that is largely owned by Perrone Construction. You will notice that the area we will be discussing sits feet from the Delaware River. Next to its people, the Delaware River is the greatest resource the town of Phillipsburg has. The bulk of this green forested area along the Delaware River is where Perrone Construction wishes to build a warehouse. Here is an image of the original warehouse that was proposed in the original concept plan that was dated February 2021. Now, one thing you will hear in discussion about the issue of the warehouse is that there will be those who will say, this is not a warehouse. They like to call it an industrial building. This is one of those situations where I say, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. After you hear the specifications for the industrial building, I think you will agree this is a warehouse. The specifications provided on this 510,000 square foot concept plan designates 382 parking spaces, 109 trailer parking spaces. The concept plan was not clear, at least to me, as to how the parking spaces were arranged for the purpose of the tractors for the tractor trailers and to accommodate the 109 trailer parking spaces. I assume that some of the 382 parking spaces would have accommodated the tractors which pull the trailers. This certainly sounds like a warehouse to me. Now we will take a look at a tax map image that will provide some context on boundaries that exist and help explain some changes between the initial proposal that was presented in January 2021 and a revised proposal in July of 2021. If you follow my cursor, you will see a black line surrounding some of the property in this overhead shot. And here I'll go around the black line. It comes down here along Howard Street and kind of zigzaggies here. And you can see the black line come all the way down here Now I think a little bit of this property might have been sold to the train excursion company, but the black line comes down here, up and around. Okay? So inside the black line, what you see are known on the tax maps as Block 2102, lots L2 and L11. This is Perone construction property. Lots 2 and 11 have been renamed to lots 2.01 and lot 2.02 on the new tax map. So you will see those names on more current documentation referring to those lots. Now, if you will continue to follow my cursor, we're going to travel along the green line. And this is the green line here. Okay, so that's the green line. The property inside the green line is what is known as Delaware River Park. This is public parkland that was paid for by the state Green Acres funds with your tax dollars. This land was purchased for the specific reason of public green open space. In the original consistency plan, some members of the town council wanted to sell this land to Perone Construction for the purpose of building their 510,000 square foot warehouse. Some members of the council wanted to take your public land and sell it to a private developer. Well, this is where things really start to get interesting. Some members of the community and members of organizations that are helping to put together this webinar protested and contacted the appropriate state agencies, and the attempt to take your public land was nipped in the bud. The state Green Acres folks told the town they could not take that land and provide the land to the developer, Perone Construction. This demonstrates that if you make your voices heard and we work together, with your help, we can make a difference. Now, some members of the town council and Perone Construction are not able to take your public land to build their warehouse. On July 20th, 2021, Perone Construction came back to council with a revised plan and a reduced sized warehouse. They couldn't use the Green Acres property, so they made the warehouse a little bit smaller. However, even though the revised warehouse plan is not quite as large as the warehouse that was originally proposed, it is still a sizable warehouse that will present Phillipsburg all the same problems that the slightly larger sized warehouse would have. Here we'll take a look at the specification of the reduced size warehouse. It would have 420,000 square feet. It would have 80 loading bays, 39 tractor-trailer parking spaces, and 400 parking spaces for cars. That large industrial building certainly, again, looks like a sizable warehouse. I will quickly go over the timeline and mention some things that minimally seemed odd in the process. In the first official step of the process on January 19, 2021, things already were getting a bit strange. The Town Council passed a resolution that was sent to the Planning Board, directing the Planning Board to return to the Town Council an amendment to the Riverfront Development Plan. It seems the resolution from Council should have directed the Planning Board to give consideration as to whether changing the zoning of the property that Perone Construction owns from residential to industrial fits the master plan, and then if the Planning Board believed the change in zoning fit the master plan, then the Planning Board should prepare an amendment to the Riverfront Development Plan to include industrial for the Town Council. It's unusual that the Council's resolution didn't ask the Planning Board to consider it, to consider the matter, and then make the amendment if they felt the amendment was appropriate. Another odd occurrence was two council members who seemed to be working as proxies for Perrone Construction held public relation events on Perrone Construction property with no representatives of Perrone Construction present. On January 20th, Councilman Robert Fulper and Frank McVeigh held a Facebook Live presentation on Perrone Construction property, promoting and advocating for Perrone Construction's behalf, promoting Perrone Construction's interest of building a warehouse on the property. On January 24th, 2021, Councilman Robert Fulper and Frank McVeigh held a live event promoting and advocating on Perrone Construction property, promoting and advocating on Perrone Construction's behalf again, promoting Perrone Construction's interest of building a warehouse on the property. There were approximately 30 people in attendance at that event, and both of these events received press coverage. On February 25, 2021, a town council member tried to intimidate and silence a resident at a planning board meeting, and the council member is reprimanded by the planning board attorney. On March 26, 2021, the planning board decides that a warehouse along the river in downtown Phillipsburg does not conflict with the Phillipsburg master plan. Interestingly, although the changing for the area in question would have an impact on many topics, the public was not allowed to get feedback, and the planning board members were not allowed to consider those items, such as how would a potential warehouse affect traffic? They were not allowed to consider noise issues, since tractor trailers will most likely violate current noise ordinances. Odors issues were not allowed to be considered, and this was significant since current ordinances specify there are to be no odors detectable without an instrument. Couldn't talk about storm runoff. Couldn't talk about light pollution. We couldn't talk about the number of trucks going in and out each day, or the issue of taking public parkland from the community. Recommending to change the property from residential to industrial will clearly be the first step in allowing all of the quality of life issues that the public was not allowed to get feedback on, and the planning board were told not to consider. It does not seem as if the process allowed for true consideration of the issue of changing the zoning to industrial to be done. On April 20th and May 4th of 2021, the first and second readings of the ordinance 2021-14 were read and passed, and this ordinance changes the zoning from residential to industrial. This is a significant step in the process. After adoption of the zoning change, any application that complies with the zoning can be not denied approval. Also, there is a lawsuit Phillipsburg citizens have filed, and this step is one of the strongest foundations in the lawsuit, and it lies in negating this step because of a conflict of interest issues with one or more of the councilmen. Multiple citizens brought up the conflict of interest issue during this particular council meeting, and the council members were instructed by the town attorney to not answer the question. On July 20th, as was mentioned in a previous slide, Perrone Construction presented a slightly reduced sized warehouse because the state would not allow the town and Perrone Construction to take your public parkland. In what seemed a highly unusual occurrence, on September 23rd, the town engineer recommended completeness be approved for the site plan application with 15 temporary waivers and 1 permanent waiver. And the planning board approved the site plan with all those waivers. A temporary waiver is granted for when an application has not been completed satisfactorily. This left many of the people viewing the meeting wondering just how many things you can have not complete on your application and then receive a temporary waiver and still have your site plan deemed complete. Many were left to wonder if the town and Perrone Construction were rushing this process through. Lastly on the timeline, there is a very important meeting of the Planning Board on October 28th, 3 days from now. I encourage everyone who cares about the warehouse being built in downtown Phillipsburg along the river to attend. Barring a successful outcome from the lawsuit, this is the last chance you, the public, will have to voice your opinions on this project. If you go to phillipsburg.nowherehouse.org, you can see the Zoom link to the Planning Board meeting. You will also see the areas of concern that surround the issue of a warehouse. Please do not hesitate to express your thoughts at the Planning Board meeting. They need to hear it. If you have further areas of concern that you do not see on the main page at phillipsburg.nowherehouse.org, use the contact feature on the main page and send your comments. Your comments will be received by Mike King at the Phillipsburg Riverview Organization. Now we will look at an issue that will be more solidly on the timeline in the future. The town is talking about building a truck bypass road from South Main Street to Howard Street. Howard Street is the street where the Perrone Construction Warehouse will be located. This is the faraway shot to give you a perspective as to how the bypass will be situated relative to the area at this section of the flats. The red and green lines represent potential paths for the truck bypass, and the blue line is South Main Street. We have zoomed in to have a closer look at the potential bypass roads. The red line represents a potential bypass road that uses McKean Street, and the green line represents a potential bypass road that would cut through the waste hauler company, LMR. The town does not currently own the properties on McKean Street and would have to purchase the properties on the street in order to widen the road and complete the truck bypass road. There has been talk of declaring McKean Street an area in need of development. Once an area is determined to be an area in need of development, then the tools of condemnation and eminent domain can be used. The green line represents a bypass road that would go through the LMR property. Again, the town does not own the LMR property. I believe this option was commonly referred to at one time as the Howard Street extension. This truck bypass would put the truck traffic out closer to South Main and Center Street. All of the talk I am hearing now is indicating that the option the town is wanting to pursue is the red line or McKean Street. There have been discussions by council that the town would fund the construction of the truck bypass and was hoping to get some grants to help out with the cost. It seems that the truck bypass is being constructed for a single company, that the cost of the truck bypass should not fall back on the Phillipsburg taxpayers, and the cost should fall on the developer that requires the bypass road. Regardless, the bypass road may alleviate some problems in this section of the flats, but the problem still exists that the truck traffic has to use South Main Street. When a truck enters or leaves the truck bypass, the truck is still required to use South Main Street. This means that there will be a significant increase in tractor-trailer truck traffic, both driving through downtown Phillipsburg and driving through Pohatcong. Even with a truck bypass road, the truck traffic issues remain a serious concern for Phillipsburg. This concludes this presentation. Thank you for listening.